Welcome to the Brewtiful Game. And it's on like a pot of neckbone tonight, as we do not unfortunately have Blake, as he's in the midst of moving locations permanently. So he spent some time with his family and doing that sort of thing. Ron and I are on some busy work schedules, so we're doing it remote-ish. Ron's doing it from the Brewtiful Game studio in Orlando, Florida, and I'm doing it from the Ferris homemade studio here in Ocoee, Florida, which is essentially Orlando, Florida.
Yeah. Should be a good time. We're gonna say what? We're gonna whip through this, and we got some exciting, fun things to talk about today.
Yeah, and we could not do a pod when Chelsea have a hell of a match, right? So we're gonna, of course, start off with that as the match of the season so far. By far, Man City and Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea played out a thrilling 4-4 draw at Stamford Bridge to send us into international break in style.
Oh. Sweet.
Awesome match. Then, since really no other match could compare to that over the weekend, we'll head straight into our 2-minute drill as we cover all the rest of the action from around the Premier League. Then we'll blow the halftime whistle as the Sterling of steak, the Silver of the salami, the Jackson of the jambalaya, and the Palmer of the pepperoni Ron shares with us some lovely beer news. And that's a little bit of a hint to maybe the goal scorers for your Blues.
Yeah.
And then finally, we'll close out the pod with an all-American edition of the La Liga's Roundup. As fresh off the presses, just today, newly announced, we have a brand new U.S. Women's National Team head coach that will take us into not only the Summer Olympics coming up, but quite possibly the next World Cup in a few years. So that's awesome. We'll let you know who that is and give our thoughts. We'll also talk the NWSL had a awesome finals this past Saturday night, this past weekend with a new champion that is a first time for this club's iteration, if you will. And then we'll update you on the MLS soccer.com / Apple TV Plus / Messi Black / whatever you want. Let's get this straight. The round of 3 games are no more. Right. No mas.
And did any of them actually get to 3 games?
Yes, a few of them did, actually. Okay. A few of them did. Well, we are now on the quarterfinals, which are single game eliminations, and we will see one here in Orlando, Florida.
Heck yeah.
Whew. It's a lot of soccer to talk about.
A ton.
But first, our beer, and then Ron will get us into the soccer with a magisterial quote from one Ray Hudson.
Nice, magisterial. Oh, I love it when he says that. What's your beer, Ferris?
Okay, so I got a beer that I can't not remember for the life of me if we have had it on the pod before, and I'm pretty sure we've had this brewery on the pod before, but from Motorworks Brewing. I actually got this at the beer fest that I was at last week, as we did a little can swapping, if you will, with some other breweries. This is one of I've had this before. I just can't remember if I had it on the pod. It's called Pulp Friction. It's an India Pale Ale with grapefruit, and it is damn good. It's a brewery out of Bradenton, Florida, so a local brewery, 6.8% by volume. It pairs lovely with a tasty burger of your choice.
Ooh.
I know I did not have a beer, or I did not have a burger tonight, but noted for next time as I have 3 of these. This was canned on September 5th of this year, so very fresh and new. This is, of course, one of their cores. It was a gold medalist at the 2020 Best of Craft Beer Awards and the 2017 Best Florida Beer Championship. It's an awesome beer. Boost of massive, freshly squeezed grapefruit aroma that rings true to me at home because as a kid outside, we had a lovely red ruby grapefruit tree that we would pick from the tree, and in the morning, cut it in half, put it in a bowl, sprinkle some sugar on it, and just go to town on it. Nice. So that was
breakfast of champions.
Absolutely. And breakfast at the Ferris household for years. So very, very good. It's going to kind of pour a deep gold 2-row pale ale, wheat, Pilsner, and Carapils. Hops are Chinook, Amarillo, Citra, dry hop, and more Citra.
Nice.
Do you know what the original gravity is by chance?
I do know what the original gravity is.
Do you know what the original gravity of this beer is?
Oh, you want the actual number?
Yeah.
Let's see. What kind of beer was it?
It's an American IPA.
Let's see.
Are you looking up, or are you just looking at like the chart to tell you what?
I'm trying to. I think your finished gravity, or no, your max OG, right,
okay,
is probably 0.014 to 0.016.
No, final gravity is 4. Original gravity,
right,
16.
Okay, but what that really means is 0.016.
I'm sure it's not what it says on the site, but you're probably looking at a chart that reads that much better than this.
Yeah, they just get rid of the, because I'm not sure if you've homebrewed yet, but when you're trying to figure out what your gravities are, which tells you your alcohol by volume, you put this like floating, it looks like a thermometer, right? It's not a thermometer, but you dip it in there, and the buoyancy of that hydrometer is there's a chart on it, and it tells you what everything is. Then you ferment it, and you put that in there again, and it gives you a different number. And then you do the math, and it gives you your alcohol. So your
original gravity is when you first put it in.
Yeah.
Then your final gravity is at the end of it.
After fermentation. Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool.
But that's cool. Most places don't give you the OG and the FG. That's kind of cool.
Heck yeah. You can go over to motorworksbrewing.com for pulp friction. Ron, what do you have?
So, in town this week is a very famous convention for the theme park industry called IAAPA.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some friends in from Australia who brought me some beers and some presents for Max. So my friends brought me some beer from Deeds Brewing in Glen Iris, Melbourne, Australia.
It's fun.
Yeah. The beer is called Juice Train. It's a New England IPA, 6.5 ABV. It's the hop profile, Amarillo, Citra, Simcoe, Galaxy.
Oh, we are 2 off of that.
Yeah,
we're pretty darn close on the hops here.
And Deeds Brewing is in this cool, like, kind of brick building in a kind of a bit of an industrial section. And Deeds Brewing is an independent craft brewery based in Melbourne. Has a rich history rooted in bold ideas and passions from its founders, Patrick Alley and David Milestein. The two met as engineering students in 2003 and bonded over their shared love of beer and brewing. They spent many nights discussing their dream of one day starting their own brewery. And over the years, their love for beer only grew stronger. Deeds Brewing prides itself on being community-focused brewery, hosting regular events and supporting local causes. They also strive to be environmentally friendly and sustainable, using locally sourced ingredients, implementing eco-friendly practices. On the can, which the can art is pretty slick, I'll show you that in a second. On the can, it says, our much-beloved 2017 release of Juice Train brought a piece of the East Coast America to Australia, a super juicy IPA that was hazy in appearance with a velvety, soft mouthfeel and absolutely bursting with tropical hop flavors. Here's the good news. It still does.
Nice.
Packed full of hops from start to finish, we think, if it ain't broke. So that's cool. There's the can art on it.
Oh, cool. Just slick. Just some. You can read everything well. Some good designs there at the bottom, but just a simple looking can. I like it.
So I'm gonna have this bad boy.
Cool. There's my Pulp Friction. Here we go.
One other quick thing. So our friends brought stuff for my son, who is now 3 months, 2 weeks old as of yesterday. And they brought him some swag from the Melbourne Football Club, which is Aussie Rules football. And they bought
that's like the old black and red.
Yeah. And they bought him a cool little scarf.
Look at that.
Yeah. So the Melbourne Football Demons, as they are known, have one other interesting coincidence. Their
Manchester
captain,
football?
No.
Red and black. Yeah. Demons, devil.
Well,
Come on.
I'm not sure if it seemed in this light, it looks dark blue, not black, but I could be wrong.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. It looks black. All right. Well.
The captain of the team currently is a man named
Wayne Rooney.
Max Gone. So the captain of the team is named Max, and my son's named Max. So how's that for?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
All right. Shall we crack it?
Let's do it.
Ooh, this has got the right out the gate, the hops just violating the airspace.
Smells like the Ferris family home kitchen in the morning. Just nice grapefruit scent right away as you open up that can.
Nice.
It's been sitting out for a bit. It's not the best pour, but lovely head retention. I got a second one in the fridge that I might have to pardon myself and go get here, but.
Oh, look at that. Right. Good pour, sir.
Good pours all around. Cheers to you.
Cheers, buddy. Ooh, you go first.
This might be the new Ferris breakfast drink. just start away with this every single day. No, but in all seriousness, just, it's like I said, I've had this before. It is damn good. It is just medium in body, smooth, very, very crisp, clean finish. You don't feel like you're drinking an IPA. Yes, you taste those hops, but it's not really just, getting down there and you're going, oh my God, that's an IPA. Just absolutely smooth, tasty. Love the grapefruit taste. Awesome. Clean as a whistle.
So they're pretty much right with how they described it. It's got a really velvety mouthfeel. You really get the hops off the top, and then it kind of smooths out, and then you really taste the hops on the back end through the finish. It is kind of two hop profiles distinctly in the taste. So it's, very citrusy up top. Then it goes into that kind of malt, kind of honey sweetness. And then it comes out with that kind of a bit pine tarry hops. But it makes for a very fun, flavorful experience.
Awesome, man. Mm. And do you have a second one of those?
Don't you know it?
Oh, man. Might be a 2-beer nighter.
Heck yeah. Especially because of our first match. But first, we got to do a Ray Hudson quote. And I just thought that this was pretty entertaining. Say what you will about Messi in Miami and whether he should have won the Ballon d'Or, if he's the greatest player, whatever, blah, blah. Put all that aside. This quote is hilarious. If Messi was the captain of the Titanic, he would have nutmegged the iceberg.
That I'm trying to think of literally how you could do that.
But I mean, that's the beauty of it, right?
Did it? Well, yeah, no. I guess the ship would have to go fully through the bottom part of the iceberg to nutmeg the iceberg.
Yep.
But if anybody could do it, I guess it could be.
Clearly, Messi can do it.
Clearly, Messi could do it. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Moving on to a little Premier League action. What a match, as we were describing in the opening. And just before the international window at that, as Chelsea and Manchester played out a absolutely thrilling 4-4 draw at Stamford Bridge. If you did not watch this match, match, go back, watch it on Peacock. It is a lot of people are calling it an instant classic. Yeah. It is that good of a match. A lot of fun, a bit of everything in there, right?
Like, watch the highlights, but really, if you can, go back and watch the match, because the highlights don't capture the squeaky bum end-to-end nature of this entire match.
Yep. It was a match that consisted of course, a Holland brace, one of which went off of his
balls
regions. Yeah. So did Holland nutmeg the ball into the net? Did he Chris Wood it into the net?
Hey, there you go.
And then an old man scores.
Yes.
Silva. And we'll go over that in just a second.
He's 309 years old.
A young man scores.
Yep.
Who used to play for City and netted it, which gave us a 4-4 draw. He hit the eighth goal, which would have been the eighth goal,
yep.
The fourth for the Blues at the time, in extra time. So kind of before we get into discussing that more, the scoring went as such. In the 25th minute, a penalty was awarded. Contentious. Both were kind of grappling in the box, called on the field, not enough to overturn it. Okay. Holland netted that in the 25th. Then 4 minutes later, the old man. Thiago Silva, 39 years old, becomes the oldest goal scorer in 10 years. He's not the oldest of all time.
Right.
That was, I believe, Teddy Sheringham when he played for West Ham in 2006. But the oldest since Ryan Giggs back in like 2012 or 13. So it's been a while, but a lovely glancing header from him. Then Sterling scored again.
Yep.
He's been a hell of a player, scored in 37th. Then just before half, Akanji scores. So we go into half 2-2. Coming out of the half.
No, there's a Erling Haaland at 47.
Correct. That's coming out of the half.
Sorry. My bad.
Yeah. That's the first goal out of the half. So we ended with the draw, or we ended the second half with a draw. We ended with the draw. Can you imagine that bet? Because there's a bet where you can do, the correct score in both halves. It's called a double. Can't even imagine the odds on that one.
Wow.
But so Holland in the 47 scores. Then a new pod favorite, our boy Nick Jackson. That's again in the 67th minute. And then Rodri thinks he won it for Man City in the 86th minute, as only Rodri could, and that kind of comes off of Silva's foot there.
Right.
But nonetheless goes in the back of the net. And then
double deflection.
Double deflection, yep. And then in the 95th, so 90 plus 5, we get a penalty. It was absolutely a pen. Cole Palmer, the former Man City boy that came in late in the game on a full transfer back in August, netted it for what is it's like his 6th goal. And I think all of them have been pens, or at least 5 of them have been pens or something like that.
Yep.
Nets it to draw it 4-4, and it just ended a classic. So the question is, now we're on to you.
Yeah.
Are Chelsea on their way to being back amongst the top 6?
No.
You don't think so?
Not yet.
Really?
I think we're...
Why?
I think we're on an upward trajectory. And you can see that when we played Liverpool, we didn't have much of the ball. We played well. We played Arsenal. We didn't have much of the ball. We played well. We played Tottenham. Didn't have much of the ball. Played well. Man City didn't have all the ball, but played well. Chelsea are having a struggle with lower teams who are giving them too much respect and give us the ball too much. We're becoming a very good kind of counterattacking team. But and I say naivety, I don't mean that as a slam to Chelsea. I mean that as these guys are all still just figuring this out. And when someone puts up a low block and we have the majority of the possession, we just don't know how to break them down.
Am I correct? Well, yeah, but am I correct in saying that Chelsea have the most possession minutes so far this season, or did I make that set up, or did I?
I wouldn't be surprised because they play a lot more teams that are not in the top 6 than are in the top 6, right? So we're still trying to figure out how to break down teams who pull a Jose Mourinho and just park the bus, put in the low block, and wait for the counter. That's mostly how we're losing a lot of these games, right? So we don't understand how to break down those low blocks. If you watch the Pochettino Friday pressers before the weekend, he straight out admits we have a lot of problem breaking down teams when they pack it in. And most of the teams that we've been playing that are, below 10, that's what they're doing. So the reason I say we're not ready for the top 6 is because we show up really well for these top teams who have the possession, and we look on the counter. We look to press high and turn the ball over in their side of the field so that we can make lightning fast counters, right? And we're getting much better at that.
Well, yeah, and you have the players to do that. A Sterling, a Nick Jackson, a Palmer. They all move forward with pace. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but to give the correct stat, I believe they ranked 4th in possession in the league. However, Man City, Brighton, Arsenal, Chelsea are your top 4. Tottenham, your 5th. You've beaten Tottenham.
Right.
You've drawn with Arsenal.
Yep.
You've beaten Brighton. And I think it was in the cup game.
Right.
And then you just had this draw with Man City.
Right. And didn't we...
Now, all that's at your home form, though, too.
What didn't we... How did we do against Liverpool earlier in the season? We either drew or won that one. I think we drew it. But regardless...
I'm sorry, against
Liverpool?
Who? Yeah, it was a draw.
Yeah.
And again, that was at home as well.
Right.
So you're playing really, really, really well at Stamford Bridge, and a lot could be said for Pochettino coming in, similar to what Ten Hag did last year, and made that home form consistent.
Yeah, but a massive result for Chelsea here, a massive morale boost for everyone. There was a lot of questions about Chelsea after the Tottenham match last week, and I think they're starting to gel. I really do. I just don't think that they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be top 6. I think they'll be top 10, but I don't think they'll be top 6.
Yeah, I think they'll get to top 6. I do. They're currently in 10th. Last 5 games, a draw, win, loss, draw, win. You get that a little bit more consistent over the course of the season. You get some people back, some injuries back. I'm going to talk a little bit to a point about that later for some injuries thing that I've been hearing. But they'll get people back. I think Arsenal are going to move towards that. I think they're probably going to end up in the top 6, if not push for 4th. It's still early in the season. We're 12 games in.
Yeah.
I think on the other side of things for Man City, they go into the international break 1 point ahead of Liverpool to top the table. 2 losses on the year, 1 draw so far in the Premier League. Now, I don't think there's any need for concern there. You have Haaland scoring. You have Rodri scoring. You're getting some good play throughout. Doku's been good. He's been a very, very bright spot for them coming in the summer transfer window for about 70 mil. He offers something to what a Jack Grealish on that side can offer. Right. Some pace and tactical. Yes, he had a dive in this game, but he's been good for them. I don't think there's any need to worry themselves. I think, though, you have to look at what they came off of last year with a treble, and can they keep up that pace for another 60, 70 game season throughout the entire course of the year. Now, they're not in the EFL Cup anymore, though, so
right.
Just the 3 that they won last year, FA Cup, Premier League, and Champions League, and they've already advanced in the Champions League. But yeah, I don't think you have to worry about them at all.
I think what this has done, though, this match, is Chelsea made it very uncomfortable for Man City. And I think out of all of Man City's matches throughout, even the beginning of this year where they were coming back against teams, right? None of those teams made it uncomfortable for Man City, quite like Chelsea has. So I think other managers like Klopp, Arteta, Postecoglou, who's in Villa?
Unai Emery?
Thank you, Unai Emery. I think they are looking at this match thinking, can we disrupt Man City similarly to Chelsea? Because the midfield for City really had problems when they couldn't get a rhythm. They couldn't find passing lanes. The intensity and the tempo at which Chelsea came at City. Well, no, I don't think anybody expected. I certainly didn't. And it really threw City for a loop throughout the entirety of the match. Not typically, Man City is good at figuring you out in the first half, and even if they're behind, they're going to grind you out in the second. And City couldn't do that on this one, which is why it makes it all even more a Chelsea achievement, right? Like, out of the 11 other games Chelsea has played this season, they have not delivered a consistent 90-minute effort in any of the matches except this one. Right? Arsenal, they played great in the first half, gave up all the goals. Arsenal had all of it in the second half. Right? Pretty much the same idea in Liverpool. Tottenham is just a weird game, but they came out strong in the beginning, and then it was actually hard for them to score with 9 men. You could see Chelsea were completely uncomfortable in the second half versus Tottenham. So this, in my opinion, is the best Chelsea's played all season for 90 contiguous minutes.
Yeah. I would absolutely agree with that. They're going to have to coming up in the next few games that they have. They have Newcastle on the road, Brighton at home in the league, and then Man United on the road. So some 3 big matches for them before they really get into a lot of games in December, just for everybody.
Yeah.
Real quick before we head into our 2-minute drill, do you think Pep, after seeing Cole Palmer's performance and kind of what Cole Palmer has done so far this year, do you think he is kind of mad that he was not able to hang on to a young player of this talent? Recently got called up to the England squad. Do you think he's like, man, that's one that over the years we're probably going to regret letting go?
I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no for the same reason that people make fun of Chelsea for letting De Bruyne go, make fun of Chelsea for letting Mo Salah go. Those players weren't. Mo Salah wasn't Mo Salah at Chelsea. He moved on and found a spark that he needed in another team, right? And then became Mo Salah. Same with De Bruyne. I think this is the same kind of thing for Pep. Right. Yeah,
but this is so so close to home though now, right? De Bruyne went over to Germany, if I'm not mistaken, made it there. Salah, I believe, went to Italy, made it there, and then came back. Yeah. This is on one of the last days of the window. This young player who has not, you're right, has not been a starter, has not played overly well, but has looked good the times that he has come in. Those far and few between for City has come in. And yes, all of his goals have mainly been off of pens, but he's nailed them all. He's taken them well. He's playing well throughout the games. Yeah. Good movement, good ball control with a lot of the things that he's doing. It's showing much earlier than I think either of those two have. And I think to your point, though, and I can understand it, is time will tell, right? Time will tell if this is we let him go for 70 mil, where in 2 or 3 years, maybe he's 100+ million player. Yeah. That's part of the issue sometimes with these bigger clubs that get in this plethora of talent, is not everybody can play.
Right. And also, like,
people are at the bench.
You also have to think that you have that much talent on the City squad, and this guy plays, he subs in, he's not started. He subs in at Man City and has a handful of minutes and makes a kind of a dent, but, isn't, skyrockets aren't firing over the stadium when he plays. So it's hard for him because It's hard to be seen through all the big fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now he goes to Chelsea, where his skills are actually really needed. He's playing well off of Conor Gallagher. He's playing well off of Raheem Sterling, Enzo Fernandez, and Caicedo. They're starting to gel, and his skills for, shall I say, his Eden Hazard-esque diagonal runs at the defense are something that is sorely needed here.
Mm-hmm.
But at City, I mean, look at who you've got that already do that, and they do it in their sleep, and they're amazing at it. So it's hard for him to be seen. So
sure.
I agree. Time is going to tell if he cranks out this season and the following season and is just crushing it. Maybe. But at the moment, I think he's not worried about letting him go.
All right. Time will tell. But one hell of a match. Like we've been saying, go back, give it a watch, extended highlights, anything you can to definitely catch this. And it'll keep you a little bit amused over the international window that we're going into. Ron, do you have the timer all set? And you guys at home, your 2-minute timers at home to keep us in check tonight for our 2-minute drill for the rest of the Premier League?
Oh, I'm born ready.
Then take us away, sir.
All right. So we have the Wolverhampton Wanderers score 2, leaving it late to Tottenham,
yes, they did,
who only score 1 goal in this match, and it's early on. An upset to say the least. But here's the question. Are we starting to see the holes in Postecoglou ball, or was it really just injuries?
I think a bit of both. And here's the problem I have with this. Tottenham and Newcastle, we'll get to them here in a bit. All you heard about is they're injured. They're injured. They're this. They're going through a rough spell with injury. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong. You as a blue, me as a red. Those weren't really excuses being thrown out for our two teams early on in this season of all of these injuries that are now starting to plague some of these teams.
Yeah, Chelsea had other problems that I think were kind of overshadowing the injury front.
Yep.
But you are correct. No one was like, oh, well, it's okay. They have all these injuries.
Oh, yeah. They have all these injuries. And they did score early. Brendan Johnson got his first for the club. Son Kulusevski. You had a formidable starting lineup. Now, the hard part here is their back line. Porro, Dyer, Davies, Royal. Dyer's Davies center back pairing, probably not the best, but surplus to demands. On the other side, Wolverhampton Wanderers kept going, kept at it. So Abia, who came on, I want to say late. Yes, he did. He came in the 87th, instant impact.
Yeah.
Wonderful touch for the first goal, slotted it home beautifully, and then played the assist to Lamina in the 97th plus. And that was pretty much all she wrote. And I think it went 99. So right there. Great from Wolves. Wolves are a dangerous team. They've been a little bit up and down all year. How Bournemouth got rid of Gary O'Neill at the start of the season before the season started is beyond me, because he's doing wonders at Wolves right now.
Yep, agreed. And to touch back on the injury portion for Tottenham, I only say this because we talked about it on the pod. Maddison being injured was kind of seems to be Tottenham's single point failure.
And they do have a list. Richarlison, yes. Van der Vee, Solomon, Madison, Perisic, Lloris, all going to get in the starting lineup. So, yes. Moving on to the next game of the weekend. I had Wolves. I don't know if you knew this. I had Wolves in a 5-leg parlay.
Huh.
And I picked Wolves to win this match. And they did in the last dying minutes that we just talked about.
Right.
I was like, oh, man, this parlay is going to win. Well, a few of the teams did not win that parlay. However, Arsenal did win their game and the parlay for me as they beat Burnley 3-1. And Zinchenko was probably the goal of the game with his interesting goal off of a corner, high stepper, jump kick type thing. So Arsenal back to winning ways over Burnley, who tried to make a game of it and did well, but just too much firepower on the Gunner side. Arteta's post-match. Very much jovial, joking about, I'm glad you asked me about the red card, because there was a red card ending off on this. Maybe throwing a little bit of a dig there from the VAR side of things. Oh, no, it was a good call. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyways, the question has to go, though, Burnley. The only team, if I'm not mistaken, last 5 games, all losses. They got to be going down, eh?
Yeah, I mean, right now there's not very much hope. There's not a lot of communication. The defense is, sleepy at best. Midfield is completely blind, completely submerged all the time, and the attacking movement seems to be very, just not creative. So they're not. You never feel. I don't think teams feel threatened. And that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
But it is a long season, right? And there could be, and in my opinion, there could be 3 worse teams than them where they just cling to 17 or 16th place.
Could be.
But I don't at this moment it looks pretty dour.
Yep. A funny thing here though, in the 80th minute of the game, guess who came into the match? A bloke by the name of Aaron Ramsey.
Right.
To which he came on with applause that were very like, is Aaron Ramsey back for Arsenal? And then a chant of, you're just a shit Aaron Ramsey proceeded, I believe, in the stadium.
That's hilarious.
The kid's a 20-year-old Englishman that plays for Burnley, not a Welsh player that used to play for Arsenal. But.
Oh. And Vieira's red card, thoughts?
Second yellow, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, sure.
But a dumb way to get sent off.
Yeah, he was just subbed in the 59th, I believe, and then was sent off in the 83rd. So
yeah, he had his work cut out for him.
That might have actually been a single red, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was. So
dangerous play. All right. Crystal Palace 2, Everton 3, in a game that I have to admit I really did not see being that high scoring.
First leg of my parlay that lost.
You had Crystal Palace then, eh?
I sure did, at home too.
With 68% of the possession. Outshot Everton. They managed to lose by a goal. There was a Crystal Palace penalty in the 5th minute. Michaelenko scored in the 1st. Then there was a 5th minute penalty for Palace to make it 1-1. Then you had Decore score in the 49th, Edouard in the 74th, and then Guy in the 86th to seal it.
Drezagana Gay.
Yeah.
The rare goal for Everton.
So the question has to be, is Everton going to finish higher than Crystal Palace at the end of the season?
Good question. Good question.
Right now, they're 13th and 14th, respectively. Crystal Palace is in 13, Everton in 14. They are on 15 and 14 points, respectively, and they are both in a negative goal difference. However, Crystal Palace has a -4 goal difference, Everton a -3.
Good question. You know what? I'm going to say yes, they do. I think
really,
yeah. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, on the rare chance actually stays fit, he's he can certainly help. The firepower there is not overly great. Jack Harrison, since he's been fit and back in the lineup, has an assist in this game. I think he had assist and or a goal in the last game, so he's going to be a player for them. They have the better keeper too, in Jordan Pickford in net over Sam Johnston, both England internationals. Though Everton in this game, just a smash and grab. Yeah. That's, from the first minute to the 89th, you said,
Yeah.
86th minute.
86.
Just scored early, scored late, got in and out of Selhurst Park. Boom, got it. Sean Dyche doing okay for them so far right now.
Yeah, seems to be steering the ship into better wins currently. I, however, don't think they'll maintain it. So I think Crystal Palace finishes above Everton.
As Big Sam Allardyce sat on with Sir Alex Ferguson in the grandstand,
I knew this was
watching
coming.
at Old Trafford. Sam Allardyce was just licking his chops to be the next Man United manager up there. But as they sat on, Man United beat Luton 1-0. Some interesting stats out of this. One of which being Man United are the most informed team in the Premier League over the last 5 games. They've gathered the most amount of points in the last 5 games out of any team in the Premier League. One stat. Wild. Blows your mind.
Then why do they suck so bad?
Correct. Second stat. Eric Ten Hag becomes the fastest manager to 50 wins, beating out the likes of Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho, Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola. And yet...
But why do they suck so bad?
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we're talking about sacking everyone, and wild. Anyways, they win 1-0.
After every one of your stats, the question is, but why do they suck so bad?
Right. So the question is, why do they suck so bad?
Oh man. I mean, I just kind of go, where do you start? From the respect of, in this match, your attack was relatively non-existent. A defender had to put it into the back of the net for you.
Yeah, this was better than other games, but yeah, no, sure.
And then I wonder if there's some sort of clash of heads in the dressing room, right? Where it seems to me this is kind of in some ways lather, rinse, repeat for Manchester United, where you get the manager bump and then things start to slowly degrade. Granted, Ten Hag doesn't seem to be as polarizing a manager as, say, a Jose Mourinho, right? But he's got all sorts of problems with different players. He makes them apologize, and some are like, no, I don't want to apologize, right? Being 10-year-olds. I'm sure there's got to be some front office BS going along. There just seems to be that the club itself, from the roots, are completely unsettled. The
mess.
Are they going to get sold for the football operations, or aren't they? Is the commercial side going to continue to cooperate with the football side or the football operations side if that happens? It's like everybody's walking on eggshells. It's just a weird environment in total.
And that's how the style of play seems. That is how Ten Hag is seen at certain times this year. Which is, if you're not sure if your job's going to be there, if you're not sure if you're going to be bought out and things are going to be completely changed with you not being there, right? It's like a company coming and overtaking and then sacking all of the employees to bring in their own. If you're talking about bringing in an owner of the football operations, that I guess in theory could happen. But you're right. It's chaos from the top down. It starts with the ownership, and it's been a thing for a while now, but still they've been the constant over these past 10 years of absolute chaos. So real quick, Victor Lindelof gets the goal in this. That was the center back that Ron was talking about. You got to say, despite what you may think of Maguire, to have the mental toughness to go through what he has in the several years to be a mainstay in that center back lining for Man United, have the captaincy stripped from him so far in the last 5 or 6 games. He has played quite well, and I do hope that continues. But you have to just say, for a mental toughness, he's still the England captain. He's still doing a lot. Or he's not the England captain, but he's a starter for them. So Man United win 1-0 over Luton.
Insane. AFC Bournemouth 2, Newcastle goose egg.
Up the cherries.
I mean, the surprise, the next surprise of the weekend in my book, right?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
It is unbelievable. If I would have said to you, Ferris, Bournemouth is going to outshoot Newcastle in this game in both shots and shots on target, you'd have just laughed at me.
Well, you know what? It's injuries with them. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's injuries to an extent, but the same in, that list is no longer than Chelsea's, than United's. And they were the second leg in my parlay to not get it.
So the question is, can Bournemouth stay out of relegation?
I think it's going to be tough for them. It's a good win, absolutely.
Sorry.
Oh, dang.
I hit the button by accident.
A good win at the Vitality Stadium for them. There might just be three worse teams. You might have them in the bottom three at the current moment. So honestly, between 15 and 20, it could finish how it looks right now. I think it's too early to say if they stay up.
Follow-up question.
Nonetheless, a good win.
Follow-up question.
Sure.
What's happening at Newcastle when their last 5 matches are 2 draws, 2 wins, and a loss?
Injuries.
Blame it solely on injuries?
No. Yes, you have to factor that in. You have to factor that in with every squad. They come off a Dortmund win. They beat Arsenal. You got to keep that in mind in there. They draw with the Wolves, get beat by Dortmund in both the home and away, beat Palace, draw with West Ham. I think you're just looking at a team still going through some growing pains. Remember, they're playing a lot more matches this season.
Sure.
In all seriousness, injuries with scoring when you have both of your front two and Isaac and Callum out. I think they're going to be okay, but I don't know. They're going to be on the cusp of finishing in the top 4 for me. Right now, they're down to 7th, but I think they're going to stay in that top 6, and by the end of the year, you'll probably see them in that top 6.
That top 6 is going to get crowded if Chelsea's in there.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the top 6, Aston Villa back to winning ways. Good win for them. 3-1 at Villa Park against Fulham. Goals in the first half, goals in the second half, but another just solid win and more like the Villa that we've seen pretty much all season. The question is for me, Villa are currently in 5th. I don't think they stay there. So if they don't end up in the top 5, where do they end?
I think they're not going to fall too much further than 7th, to be honest. Granted, that's not your top 5, right? But they're on an incredible run of form.
Mm-hmm.
Emery has them compact, has them forward thinking, has them moving with pace, pressing when needed, creating really good link-up play, being really smart about when they play, what they play. And so I think they do finish in the top 5, to be honest. I think it'll be like
top 6.
I think it'll be 4 or 5, but I think they're going to keep on the track record.
Champions League plays for him, you think?
Yeah. I mean, they're one of the most so let's forget about, let's look at from 5 to 10, right? Is there anybody more consistent?
Over the course of the season so far, your top 3 right now, your top 4 even. So yeah, I think, 5 for them right now. They are playing some very lovely, consistent ball. As you're saying, I think probably top 6 is more up their alley. It's the longevity, right? Are they still doing this consistency in April, in May? I think that's what it's going to come down to. They're also playing on the European front, so a lot more games for them too. And Fulham, just kind of there right now.
Who?
Just kind of there right now.
Sitting in 16th with a negative 10 goal differential, 3 losses, and a draw and a win in their last 5. Brighton Hove Albion 1, Sheffield United. The Blades give it a draw. Very interesting match played there. Brighton has a red card in this match in the 70th minute, I want to say. Brighton score early in the 6th, and then after Brighton go a man down, Sheffield United put the pressure on and force an own goal in the 74th minute to draw level at the 1-1. Sheffield United with this climb out of the last place and into 19th. Right? So now they are not as dire as Burnley. They're 1 point above them with a negative 21 goal differential. So the question is this the Blades' resurgence? Is this the start of the Blades' resurgence to pull them out of the relegation zone?
No.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's going to be a simple answer from me.
Yeah. So the follow-up question to that, because that's obvious. What's up with Brighton this year? So many draws, just capitulating at the last minute, a little more, or I should say a little less disciplined. The manager coming out saying how much he hates the Premier League referees. There's just there is a lot of unsettled nature at Brighton. So do we think they're going to stay in the top 10?
Top 10, yeah. They're in 8th right now. If we talk injuries for Newcastle and those other teams, we got to talk injuries for them right now. No Dunk, no Stubian, no March, no Lampley, no Welbeck, all of which has started a handful of games so far this season. Because they also rotated a bit in this. No Joao Pedro, no Mitoma, no Veltman, all came in as subs. A lot of games. They're getting a taste of what the proverbial top 6 usually play. The top 4 usually play, 3 games in a week. So they're getting a little bit of a taste of that. And the Premier League is still a very, very tough league. So whether you're at home to Sheffield or you're on the road, that red card came, what was it? The 70th. So it's not like it happened real early on. It's just attrition throughout the season thus far. But I think Brighton will finish in the top 10. Things have just cooled them a little bit right now. Mo Salah shines and scores his 200th in the Premier League as a brace for him, and a lovely goal by Jota as they blank Brentford 3-0 at Anfield. Liverpool, 1 point off of the leaders.
Sneakily.
Ronald, are they title contenders?
Yes. I think they are. I agree
with you.
I think they have been kind of I say sneaky because this season while paying attention, I just haven't paid that much attention to the moves that Liverpool have been making, the quiet changes Klopp has been doing to the team, minor adjustment there, minor adjustment here, right? That allows them to just kind of sneakily move up the table, right? Liverpool's pretty much all been a contender for the past couple of seasons, but this one just seems a little more quiet, a little more humble, if you will.
They seem balanced, brought in some good talents. Soboslai is a good signing for them. Endo, good signing for them so far, too. Could have possibly been sent off in this game. There was a VAR check on that. Debatable, but probably not enough there to turn that into any sort of different of a card. He didn't get a card on that because you can't VAR for a yellow card.
Today, this week.
This week, yeah. Who knows what the hell we're going to do next week? Matip on a second, maybe could have been sent off too. Nonetheless, Liverpool do the job that they set out to do at the start of the day. They deserve to win this game at Anfield. Salah, just an absolute stud with his 2 goals. Jota, who I think is a very just tidy player, clean anywhere in the box. I think they have enough firepower. I think that back four kind of stays the way that it does. They just have a lot more consistency there.
Yeah. Is Nunez ever going to gel there?
Too much. Say what, Ron?
Is Nunez ever really going to gel? Most of the time, he's a train wreck. But he has glimmers of what I feel like he could be. But he just never is consistent enough. What do you think's going on?
No, I think he'd be fine. I like him as a number 9 for them. I think he's getting a consistent run of games, has an assist in this one. I think if he just gels in there, he doesn't always have that similar front three though, right? It's not like you have your Salah, Firmino, Mane front three that's always there, right? You have any combination of a Jota, Nunez, Salah, who's the lad? Diaz front three tied in there with maybe a Gakpo. He seems to be playing more in midfield nowadays. So you have any kind of combo of those. So it's not as consistent, but I think he's fine. I think he's going to be just fine. He's scoring some goals. He's making things occur. I think he'll be fine. Next game after the break, Man City.
Ooh.
Take on Liverpool at the Etihad, and then they have a fairly nice run of games until Liverpool and Manchester United on the 17th, which will probably be an easy game as well for them. But
and I think last but not least, West Ham United conquer Nottingham Forest 3-2.
Take down the Sheriff?
They shot the Sheriff, but they missed the deputy. In a match that, interestingly enough, I didn't quite expect West Ham to win. I feel like Nottingham Forest have been on such a high. Granted, there's 2 draws, 2 losses, and a win in their last 5. But when I say they've been on such a high, they've beat Chelsea. They've drawn games that they shouldn't have drawn. And I just expected West Ham's form, which has been 3 losses, a draw. 3 losses, a draw, and a win, just to not be on as good a form, not be on as good a morale. But man, West Ham pulled it together. So here's the question. Sorry.
Sorry. Nope, you go ahead.
So here's the question. At the end of this season, does James Ward-Prowse stay with West Ham?
Sure. I don't know anywhere else he goes. A lot of shots for him being in the England team right now. So yeah, I do think he does. To your Nottingham point, they're becoming more of a tough team to play, especially at home. They're not making it easy for other teams. They're not quite there yet. They don't quite have the firepower, but they're a solid team. Steve Cooper, who kept them up last season, is doing a good job. I think they are a good enough team to stay up this season, and there are 3 worse teams that will kind of help them. But I think all in all, you might see them end as high as 12th.
That's fair.
Which would be a good season for them and move 3 spots up. Top 10, maybe, but they're
There's at least five. There's at least 5 teams that are worse than them. And I don't mean that because they're in 15th place, but easily Fulham is worse. Easily Bournemouth is worse. Luton Town, dreadful. Sheffield United, next to dreadful. And then Burnley, I mean, are pretty much already relegated.
I mean, but Nottingham, 3 points off of 10th right now.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yep. With only a -4 goal differential, right?
Yeah, not bad for down there.
All the other teams, 16 through 20, have double-digit negative goal differences.
Yep. Followed by. No.
Oh, the whistle. I pushed the wrong button.
It takes us into halftime.
Yeah. It happens.
It does. Of our Premier League talk, it takes us over to Little Ron's beer news.
Some beer news. I'm going to keep it short because we want to get on to some other topics. And the beer news that I'm going to take a long time with is probably next week when we talk about the various alleged corruptions for the World Cup. So this week, I'm just going to keep it brief. Blake's not here, so we're just going to go real quick. If you're a beer person and you like the beer industry and you are interested in kind of how things work, you can understand how climate change would negatively impact the brewing industry, considering we need basically all plants to make beer, right? The Midwest is mostly all of the malt growing, and that is constantly being ravaged by various droughts and, you know, craziness in weather. The Pacific Northwest is becoming drier and warmer, and the Pacific Northwest is where most of the U.S. hops are made. So this really cool article in the AP, the Associated Press. If you go to apnews.com and search for beer and climate change, there's this really great article about how researchers and breweries are working to make various plants that are for the brewing industry or give you the ingredients to brew, how they are trying to make them a little more climate change resistant. Anything from hops that can be a little more robust and don't need as much water, growing plants, growing specifically barley in the wintertime, something called winter barley, which is really, really interesting. Go check this out. It's based around Goshi Farms, who is in Oregon, and they are a huge hop supplier for, you know, breweries all over the world, but specifically in the U.S. And what they're doing to kind of make all of their hops and barley basically resistant to extreme heat and drought and up and down growing seasons. It's a really cool article. And if you're kind of a nerd about all this, like I am, you'll read this 2 or 3 times because there's so much you can glean out of it. It's quite a great article.
Glean out of it.
Yeah. AP
That's
News,
cool.
apnews.com, search for climate change and breweries, and this article will pop up. It's quite good. Written by Melina Walling, Amanda Lohman, and Brooke Herbert. Really,
is that the Associated Press?
Yeah. Yep.
Lovely.
apnews.com. Go check it out. Like I said, if you're a beer nerd for the ingredients and the process and all that kind of stuff, you'll find this very interesting. There you go.
Very cool.
So that puts us out of the old halftime.
Sure does. And takes us into the La Liga's Roundup. An all-American edition of the La Liga's Roundup. And as we alluded to in the opening, the U.S. women's national team have appointed is the 10th full-time head coach of the U.S. Women's National Team. Ron's very own from Chelsea.
Yes.
Emma Hayes.
I'm
How
so happy.
cool is that? You know, big name, you go out, you get one of the best in the game. She was quoted as saying, "This is a huge honor to be given the opportunity to coach the most incredible team in football world history," said Hayes. "The feelings and connection I have for this team and for this country run deep. I've dreamt about coaching the USA for a long time, so to get this opportunity is a dream come true. I know there is work to achieve and goals of winning consistency at the highest levels. To get there, it will require dedication, devotion, collaboration from the players, staff, and everyone at U.S. Soccer Federation." She will finish out the 23-24 Women's Super League season in England as head coach of Chelsea, which she won last year. The title on the last day, actually, over Manchester United. But she will join on the U.S. team officially 2 months prior to the start of the 2024 Olympics. Ron, what do you think of the signing? Hey, wait, actually, hold on. Before I do, I don't know if you have a second one.
I'll snag one.
Yeah, well, why don't you snag one? Sorry, we weren't overly prepared for this, but I think it's only fitting that we ring in the new manager with a lovely crack of the beer to welcome Emma Hayes to the US of A.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing, Ferris. A beautiful thing. So Emma Hayes is I'm excited that she is going to be at the U.S. women's national team and U.S. soccer because she's a pretty straight shooter. She's a very staunch advocate for the women's game, the women's playing surfaces, pay rates, all that kind of stuff. And I'm excited that she's going to be there because I also think she's not going to let U.S. soccer get away with a bunch of BS that is hampering the women's game. Emma Hayes has been awarded the OBE, the Order of the British Empire, which is a...
What?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like something out of Star Wars.
Blake would really be happy for you for that. But the most excellent order of the British Empire is a British Order of Chivalry, rewarding contributions to the arts, sciences, work with charitable and welfare organizations, and public service outside the civil service.
You don't say.
Yep. So she's got an OBE to her name. She is 47 years old.
OBE, you know me.
47 years of age, just like me. She was born a month after me. Her place of birth was Camden, London, England.
Camden. Phil and I were in Camden.
Yeah,
this past year.
She was there, or was
born
there.
Posh part of town, if I might add.
From 2001 to 2003, she managed the Long Island Lady Riders, which
I'm sorry.
Yeah, they were. Right now, they're the Long Island Rough Riders, and they're formerly known as the Long Island Lady Riders. And they're an American women's soccer team based in Long Island. They were founded in 1994, and she was their manager. Then she went on to the Iona Giles,
sure,
which is from Iona University in New Rochelle, New York.
Mm-hmm.
They play in the NCAA Division I. Then she was an Arsenal assistant coach in 2006 to 2008. 2008 to 2010, she was the manager and the sporting director for the Chicago Red Stars. Then 2012, she took over as Chelsea, and she's been there ever since.
So essentially a lot of American soccer, U.S. soccer kind of roots here, if you will. Yeah,
she's got
her time
a lot of New York.
Professionally in the game.
Yeah, a lot of time in New York getting to know various people and building relationships and learning a lot. She's been on, a bunch of different podcasts on The Athletic talking about her history and how she got there and all that kind of stuff. And if you're interested, give those a listen. She's a very well-spoken, very smart tactician when it comes to the beautiful game. She's won 6 Women's Super League titles, 1 WSL Spring Series title, 5 Women's FA Cups, 2 FA Women's League Cups, and she's been in the UEFA Champions League final twice, but that's eluded her both times.
Great hiring here. Like it a lot. I agree. I'm excited for this. It is. You take your time. You wait. You get this in. You don't make a too rash of a decision following the World Cup this summer. Obviously, everybody thought that Latko's time to go, which he actually got hired at Sporting KC, or not Sporting KC. I'm sorry, Kansas City Current a few weeks back, but. Good hire here. She will be on the bench for 4 matches prior to the Olympics, 2 in June and 2 in July. So a little bit of time there. But I think she'll gel just fine. I think one of the things she works well with is attackers as well. We have a plethora of young, smart, bright, fast attackers. So she can get anywhere near the production out of some of those vying for the number 9 spot, whether it be Mal Swanson, Alex Morgan in her later years here, Lynn Williams, Ashley Hatch, any of those. She can get anywhere near the goal scoring production out of them that she is for like a Sam Kerr at Chelsea. I think, we're in for something good here, and it could be a long reign for her, but this summer we'll certainly get a good taste of what she can bring to U.S. soccer.
I also think she is going to transform that team into a team that the U.S. hasn't quite seen in quite a number of years. She's going to really make that team gel in the respect of the vision through the midfield, both on the spring forward countering attacks, throwing numbers forward, but also have that protection for the back 4 or back 3, depending on how she decides she's going to, kind of line everybody up. She's also going to bring a certain continuity to this squad where we didn't see this in the World Cup. In the World Cup, it was very much there's a defense, there's a midfield, there is an attacking player set. And those things were semi-fragmented in the World Cup, causing a lot of communication breakdowns, a lot of missed passes, a lot of turnovers, and a lot of mistakes that didn't need to be there. I think she's going to gel the team in a way that we really haven't seen in quite some time. Maybe bring it back to some semblance of the Pia Sundhagen time. Their
Interesting show.
Their game is cut from similar cloths. Maybe not exactly the same, but
and she would have been in U.S. soccer when Sundhagen was the coach.
Yeah. So I'm excited for her. If you want to watch what she's going to be like, start paying attention to, if you're not already, start paying attention to the Women's Super League. The top 3 teams in the Women's Super League over there in England: Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United. 4th is Tottenham. It's gonna be fun if you pay attention to see what her coaching style's like. Pay attention to her post-match pressers and that kind of thing. It should be interesting to note that when Chelsea was bought out, changed ownership, the ownership did not touch a single thing on the women's side of the game. They only messed around with the men's side.
Good point.
In a similar fashion to it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Emma Hayes stands up and says, I'm taking care of the recruiting. You just give me the money. And she's got the pedigree to prove it. So she's going to go into U.S. soccer with maybe a slightly more humble version of herself in the beginning. But I'm excited for what she's going to bring off the field just as much as I am for what she can do on the field. So I'm ridiculously happy about this. I think I sent a text to our group probably like 2 weeks ago with like, do you think this could happen? And man, I'm so excited it did.
Absolutely. Fun times ahead. Definitely something to look forward to here. And we'll not be behind the bench until this summer, but the excitement will grow between now and then. And as Ron said, definitely check out the WSL on Paramount Plus is where you can view a lot of those games. So very, very fun. NWSL staying with the women's game in the U.S. They had a final this past Saturday. Awesome final.
What a match.
2-1 to NJNY Gotham FC as Ali Krieger and Gotham win 2-1 over the Seattle Reign. OL Reign, I apologize, out of Seattle. A bit of a sad start to the game as Megan Rapinoe went down with injury, so we did not see her for the full match. An Achilles tear of sorts. Mitch Purse, MV Purse as the NWSL.
A sad way for her to go off on the last game of her career, right?
Yep.
And it props to Ali Krieger for going over there and giving her like the biggest hug on the planet and just kind of empathizing with her. But what a shame that the last game of her career, she has to go off relatively early injured.
Yeah. But Mitch Purse with a great game and definitely the MVP. 2 assists, 1 to Lynn Williams, 1 to Esther Gonzalez. Was all she wrote. The second goal came just before half. So all goals were in the first half. Lynn Williams, Lavelle Gonzalez, and then a fairly subdued second half, a bit cagey at times as Sonic got a yellow in the 87th. And then very, very end of the game, Mandy Hoth, the goalkeeper for Gotham, got sent off, but that was pretty much the end of the game. And Gotham, they win.
For the first time.
Great win for them. Way for Ali Krieger to go out. Awesome.
But also Christy Mewis on that
Mm-hmm.
team.
Mm-hmm.
Former Orlando City player Kristen Edmonds. The Chocolate Mill Goddess Kelly O'Hara on that squad.
Yep.
What a grid final. Enjoyed that.
Absolutely. And, you know, it was a great advert. Is that the right word? Yeah. Great advert for the league. Fun game. This was on big CBS on Saturday night. I believe it started at 8 a.m. If I'm not mistaken. And the NWSL is a league that's growing. And if you're not watching that, it is awesome to see how they're growing. This is Gotham's first win, so their first ever. You're getting some new teams getting in the mix. That's just fun. That's coming up in Utah and Bay City. You know, you're getting a lot happening, and not to mention, I don't know if you saw this, they just signed a huge TV deal.
Yep.
Which it's going to span across 3 different channels, if I'm not mistaken. Between ESPN, let me see if I can find the information here. I just had it
ESPN,
up. So
ABC,
just a second.
CBS, Prime Sports, and Ion.
There you go. So it's
$60 million a year.
What was that, Ron? Sorry.
$60 million a year, and it's a 4-year media rights deal.
Yeah, and coming off the back of a 71% increase from last year's title game, this league is on the up and up. And if you're not watching, if you're not going to the games, absolutely start to, because it's a super fun league. They're along the same lines as the MLS, and there are some fun games to see.
Yeah, 25,000 fans turned up in San Diego to watch those teams. This is awesome.
Speaking of U.S. soccer and fun leagues and some championship playoffs going on right now, MLS, soccer.com or something to that extent. We are at the quarterfinal stage of what the MLS has to offer. We are past the 3-game baseball series that is created moments, days before the start of the MLS season. Just wild to me that you can come up with this entire format days before we actually start the season. But nonetheless, here we are. So to get you kind of through how we got to where we're at, which will be single game elimination, we'll start off in the East. As in the East, you had Cincinnati advanced over New York Red Bulls, who got in that wild card game. Philadelphia Union over New England. The only game in the East to go all three. Columbus over Atlanta. That game just a few days ago going through. And then Orlando in 2 games, both 1-0 over Nashville. So Orlando will play Columbus here in Orlando on November 25th at 5:30 in the evening. And Cincinnati will take on the Philadelphia Union in Cincinnati at 8 p.m. that night as well. That's your semifinals.
Right. Semis.
Because the semifinals of what is the conference final.
Right.
But it's the quarterfinals of the MLS Cup, if you're looking at it that way.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud, correct. Over in the West, Sporting KC, who got in via the wild card, took down the number 1 team in St. Louis, 4-1 and 2-1 in back-to-back games, both in St. Louis and then in KC. They will take on the Houston Dynamo, who wild series with RSL. It went all 3 games, the last 2 of which going down to pens.
Pens, yeah. And
so Houston won the first one, lost the second game in the first penalty shootout, and then won the next penalty shootout in the third game.
Yeah. A really weird, we can cover the horseshittery of this playoff format because we have plenty to say on that. So I won't digress into that.
Fair enough.
But I'm happy Houston was able to squeak out of that one, because it was
agreed
a squeak out in my opinion.
Yeah, and they've been a pretty good team all throughout the end of the season. So if they didn't advance, that would have been sad for them in a way, because they won the cup this year and ended the season quite strong. So now 4 will take on 8th on the 26th, so a day later from the Eastern Conference semifinals. And they will take on what you would have thought would have advanced out of this group. It took LAFC 2 games over Vancouver. Vancouver put up a fight, but never really got close to LAFC advance, and they'll take on Seattle. The game will be in Seattle because Seattle's the higher seed at the number 2 overall seed, but it took them 3 games to get over Dallas. Dallas at home won their match. Seattle won both of theirs at home. So this should be a very good game. You have 2 and 3 here and 2 and 3 obviously over in the East between Orlando and Columbus. Whew. Single games. No more of this 3-game nonsense, right? We're back to just your good old American style, March Madness style.
Yeah, and these single elimination games will have extra time 2 periods of extra time before it goes into PKs, not this weird end of the regulation time right into
Straight
PKs.
depends.
Which I'm trying to stay positive. It's difficult.
Do we know what cards hang over? Like if you get a red card in this, are you out for like the first half of next season? Do we know any of that stuff?
Yeah. So it all accumulates up to the conference final.
And then it's a wipe clean from there on out?
Everything is wiped clean.
Okay.
So if you were about to get all your fouls in
now, right?
before, so that you could have them wiped clean into the conference finals.
Right. Oh man. All right. So Ron, who do you got? We'll start off in the West. Why not? Houston and Sporting KC.
I'm going to say Houston.
Agreed. Seattle and LAFC.
Seattle.
I'll take LAFC.
All right. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with either of them.
True.
Right? This playoff, now that the 3-game crap is done, it's really going to be who can maintain their streak and stay hot that's going to win. And I think Seattle can do that. They were miserable early on in the season, all the way to like halfway, and then they crept themselves all the way up. And I think they came on at the right time in the season to get themselves where they are. I think they're going to continue.
Well, and they've just been a consistent, right? They've been a consistent in the league. They've been consistent at home.
After about a third of the way through the season, yes, they were abysmal in the beginning. They were losing all kinds of matches, but they also didn't they also have CONCACAF Champions League?
They did, but I think they won it the year before last. Didn't
right. They won it the year before.
They were playing in it a bit this season, but
so maybe that's why they were so crap in the league
far this season. Yeah, but you know, their head coach in Brian Smilser is just he knows this league. He knows this league inside and out. He knows how to coach these games. So yes, I could very easily see them winning in this. But that LFC firepower, I think, could cause them issues. Moving over to the East, Cincinnati take on the Union, another team that's been kind of a stalwart there in the East over the last few seasons. Not going to be an easy match here, but who do you see going through in this one?
Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'll take Cincinnati too. And then to round it out and to end our American soccer talk, Orlando City take on Columbus.
OCFC.
Who do you got? OCFC at home.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not FC. It's OCCS. Or
OCSC.
SC. That's what I meant.
OCSC. Yeah. Yes.
Dyslexia. It's a disease. Terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I think Orlando City has a really good chance of going through here. I certainly hope that the Union win as well, so that we could see another game if both of those teams go through.
What happened the last time they met in the playoffs?
For who?
Between Orlando and Philly.
I don't know about Orlando and Philly. I know that Orlando and Columbus not too long ago in September played out to an awesome 4-3 game here, and Orlando with a very late 97th plus minute goal by Enrique.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that happens again.
But do
you know the result?
Or wasn't Orlando Philly the one where we lost our keeper in the playoffs and what's his name had to go in?
That was actually NYCFC. That was the first. Yeah. So the only other playoff game at home in Orlando City history was a few years back against NYCFC.
I thought that was Philly.
Schlegel had to hop in the net. Yeah.
Schlegel hopped in net and saved a pen.
Yes, he did. It was a very poor pen, but a great save. Poor pen, but a great save.
Yeah, I hope it's a rematch in the semifinals or the conference finals, that it's Orlando and Cincinnati, because that was a fun game a couple of months ago where we ended up taking points from them.
be 1-2 in the table in the overall league. So that would
Yeah.
certainly be fun. I think everybody, every neutral at home is probably hoping for that. But that is your MLS.com, soccer.com playoffs and the conclusion of the La Liga's roundup.
Awesome.
Ron, what was the beer you had again tonight?
Oh, man, I had a really good New England IPA from Deeds Brewing in Glen Iris, Australia, called Juice Train. ABV 6.5%. Man, I wish I had a case of these. These are a nice grill out by the pool in the summertime kind of beer.
Love it. I had a Pulp Friction Motorworks Brewing out of Bradenton, Florida. Indian Pale Ale with grapefruit, 6.8%. Man, I'm on my second. This is just darn good beer, classic core of theirs. If you're anywhere in Florida and you see this in cans or on tap anywhere, certainly get it.
You have to have your next one with a burger and tell me how it pairs.
That's yes. I will have to do that the next time. Give us a listen on any of your favorite podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Pod, Spotify, YouTube. Now I think just everything. Follow us on socials, mainly on Tapped. We've been a little bit quiet on socials as of late, so we apologize. But you can check out our website, which posts all of our pictures and whatnot from every single pod. So go over to that. Brewtifulgame.com. And there's a World Cup quote from Zlatan that I want to share, but I might have to wait till the next podcast to share it because
we're going to do World Cup.
That's going to be the World Cup talk, right?
Yeah.
So I can't remember if I shared this one before, but it was a game when he was playing for Manchester United against Palace. He's quoted as saying, "First I went left, he did too. Then I went right, he did too. Then I went left again, and he went to buy a hot dog." I think I've shared that one before, but it's just so darn good.
Yeah, you have. That's all
right. Since you are a dad now, do you have any dad jokes?
Yeah, I do actually. So the family and I are getting ready to have a cookout on Thanksgiving, right? And we're we do a lot of smoking of turkeys and hams and things like that on the holidays. And this season we were talking about going German because, last year we were in Oktoberfest. And so we had a lot of good German food, and this year we couldn't go. So we were thinking, hey, why don't we do German food for Thanksgiving just to mix it up, right?
Sure.
We have turkey every year and all that. And my wife was saying, do you boil the sausage? How do you cook it? Because I guess her family does something like boiling the sausage and then browning it and then serving it. And I was like, sure. You boil sausage? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's the worst.
Blake would be proud.
Wouldn't he? He would be so proud. He would be so proud.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for listening to the Brewtiful Game. Blake should be with us again next week, and we'll go over some World Cup and international talk. But have a safe and good week, and we will talk to you soon on the Brewtiful Game.
Love the beer. Cherish the game. The Brewtiful Game.